Aloha, I'm Kala'i Miller and welcome to Ocean Paddler. On today's episode, we say a final farewell to Lawrence Campos. Uncle Bo, as he is affectionately known to most, worked tirelessly to broaden, enhance, and grow the sport of outrigger canoe paddling in Hawaii and throughout the world. Always dedicated to coaching the youth, perpetuation of the sport and its culture was his passion. Over the years, the crew at Ocean Paddler has become very close with Uncle Bo, and his guidance and support will continue to be an inspiration to us all. But first, we're off to Australia for the iconic Bridge to Beach race in Sydney Harbour. This event has become a staple of Australian paddle sports. Open to various paddle crafts, there's something in it for everyone. And with world champion surf ski and OC1 paddlers always in attendance, this is an ultra competitive event.
Today we have the Bridge to Beach. We've got the best paddlers on the water today. We've got classic downwind conditions, which is rare for this event. 17 to 18 knot winds from the southeast, which is kind of across your right shoulder, and a 2 to 3 metre swell, which is, making conditions really interesting for the paddlers.
I was really excited to be down here. This is one of the races I've done before, and it's always exciting to come here because there's a whole variety of watercraft that does this race. And that incorporates the surf skis, the kayak, the rowboats, and the OC ones included, and stand-ups.
This race is so special because it's in the Sydney Harbour. It's a great place, one of the greatest places in Australia, so people love coming to this race. It's very short, so you can go hard nearly the whole way, compared to lots of the other ocean ski races that are a lot longer. So this race, you can push yourself as hard as you can.
So the race traditionally starts under the Harbour Bridge, but this year we had to start in a different location due to some works going on at our start location. So it starts pretty well in the centre of Sydney. It goes around Bradley's Head, which is a key feature on Sydney Harbour, and then comes down what we call the Western Channel, so the western side of the main body of the harbour, past Middlehead, past Dobroyd, and then finishes at Manly Cove. So it's about 10.5 kilometres in total. And it's a fast race. It's a 40-minute race for the top surf ski paddling guys.
Start line for the race, particularly the ocean skis, it's an area where you can sort of really win or lose the race because you've got so many paddlers so close to each other, the gun goes, everyone's banging into each other, so it's the part of the race is probably the most nerve-wracking.
The women were the second wave start, so I think we went 5 minutes before the first start, which was the SUPs and the prone boards. And then about 5 minutes after us was the men and the double skis. So we knew that we'd kind of catch the first wave, and then it was a matter of time before the men would catch us.
Our starts, not to, put down our starts, but I think everyone eases into our races where these guys are off the block, are going 100%. So it definitely is a shock to the body with doing that, but it's great to see how fast these guys are going.
Surf skis tend to dominate here down in Australia, and you can tell they have a wide field of surf ski paddlers, and they have huge clubs. And for the OC1 to enter that realm is kind of different, and it's uncharted waters.
Coming from the surf lifesaving background, you've got a lot of paddlers that do the surf lifesaving events on the surf skis and then jump into the ocean skis. So because you've got such a large number, you find that there's always new paddlers coming into the sport, and particularly, you know, on the harbour here in Sydney, every morning when you go paddling, there's hundreds of paddlers out there training. It's fantastic.
The sport itself is just growing by the day. In the 3 years we've been involved, it's been phenomenal to actually see the crossover from people that have actually come from the surf lifesaving community to all of a sudden into this particular, genre. And I think the Ocean Paddling series has been great.
Next on Ocean Paddler, more action from the Bridge to Beach race. This year's Bridge to Beach race in Sydney Harbour, Australia was blessed with excellent downwind conditions, and over 300 paddlers had a blast surfing the second half of the course.
The OC1s and the stand-up divisions have got stronger over the last 10 years. There's certainly that look back to Hawaii and people going over there for races like Molokai and seeing what's going on, coming back here and getting into those disciplines. So you find the numbers are going up, and there's a lot of good paddlers in those two divisions now.
So there never used to be so many OC1s in this race years ago, and I think this is the 15th year that they've had this race. Like the first time I did this race, there was only a handful of OC1s. Today, there was a lot of OC1s out there, and it was great to see the turnout and how the sport is growing here in Australia.
Well, to see them, in their water sports, they're the first to really take surfing in besides the Californians, from Duke Kahanamoku and all that, so it's kind of expected, And
a lot of Australians live so close to the coast, and you're brought up around swimming in the ocean and surfing, and it's very similar to Hawaiian culture, and going over and racing over in Hawaii is very similar to racing over here.
Conditions today were quite tricky. There was a lot of rebound coming from the rocks and out through the mouth. So going out for the first 3Ks, we were punching into a bit of a headwind.
And then once we got around the headland with this southerly coming through, we got a few runners, and it was really fun conditions in the end, and quite a quick little race.
It was actually pretty tricky going around the couple of points, and then it actually got good that last 3 or 4K as we got a bit of swell through the heads and into the finish line.
My strategy was to conserve, not go too hard into the wind, sit on the wash, try not to do too much leading and keep the heart rate down. And then once we made that 90-degree turn, I thought, right, the first kilometre here is really important. So I just pushed really hard for the first K after the turn. And I think the runs just got better and better the further we went on. So it meant that by being that little bit ahead, I was the first one to get to the good runs, and that put me further ahead.
I felt pretty good almost the whole way, so I started behind the other OC1 because I think right now I like to do that, not to go hard at the beginning. So I was almost alone almost the whole race, and then after that it was just all about having fun.
Yeah, Rachel Clark and I were going neck to neck the whole way. Even right from the start, we were doing wash leads, and then the whole way we're just taking turns of doing leads.
We were like that the whole way, and then just at the end, the last 100 metres, she just pulled a little runner ahead and got me about 10 seconds, I think.
That final leg, you know, they've come out of the little downwind leg and they hit the beach and they've got about a 150 metre sprint, so they've got to drop their craft and then run with their paddle, and that can make or break it for some guys and girls, and you know, we've seen people lose the race in that particular section.
When you've been paddling for 45, 50 minutes, using your upper body and then have to try to get up and run, particularly if you've got a sprint, if there's someone close to you you're trying to beat, that's tough. It's a good race, it's quite unique with the run leg being at the end, and it makes quite exciting racing.
Australia is so good for surf ski racing. There's so much water. It's just such a nice place for people to come. That's why I think the South Africans, the people from the US, and so many people like coming to Australia because we've got such great scenery, such lovely places. The water's so good to paddle in. We get good wind. Everywhere you go in Australia, you can expect something different. Going to the Perth Doctor, you can pretty much guarantee a downwind race. People love coming to that.
And we'll definitely enjoy a couple of beers by about 10 a.m. So not all the races are like this. We usually wait for the wind to come in, but for the last one of the season, it's a bit of a hurrah and get out of here early, get out of the water. I mean, I think everyone's close to finishing now, and it is. It's 10 a.m. right now.
Great, you turn up, you race, the race is done, and you go and you have a feed and you have a chat and you talk about the stories of your race, and it's pretty low key, and that's what makes it cool and easy. I think that's the good thing about it. And travelling the world's really important, I think, and seeing different locations, different water quality, different people around the world experience different things, and I think that's a big part of life.
It's almost spooky to see how fast these surf ski paddlers can finish this course. Congratulations to all who paddled the race, but especially our top finishers in the surf ski division. For the women, it was Elizabeth Wise in third place, Rachel Clark in second, and in first with a time of 48 minutes, Georgia Laird. For the men, it was Nathan Neal in third, Oscar Jones in second, and in first place with a time of 43 minutes and 7 seconds, Sam Norton. For detailed race results, you can check out oceanpaddler.com. Next on Ocean Paddler, we say farewell to Uncle Bull.